Good evening. Hello, hello. Hope everyone's okay. I'm just going to make sure that I am live and that everyone can see me. Yes, I am live. So, hope everyone's okay. Um, as always, if you're watching this live with me, then comment live. Hit some love heart buttons for me so I can see who's watching. Hope everyone's okay. Happy Monday. Oh, there's a couple of people coming on. Hi, guys. Like I say, comment so I know who it is. I can't see who it is until anyone comments, so I'm just going to wait to see if a few more jump on with us. But as like I say, comment hashtag live if you're watching it live. If you're watching this on the replay, then comment hashtag replay for me. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Jem. Yay. Hi, Gail. Loving it. Thanks so much for joining me, ladies. Hi, Donna, Carol. Yay! I've got a few people on with me. Hi, Kathy. So, tonight I wanted to do a little bit of a workshop. Now, normally on a workshop, hi, Lizzie. Normally on a workshop, I'm going to be asking you every week what you want to see out of these workshops. So, last week I asked everyone what a good time was to do these workshops, and it happened to be this time, Monday, at 7:30, which is absolutely perfect. But I will be asking you in a poll every week what you want these workshops to be on. But because I actually asked the poll of when you wanted them quite late in the week, I went on a previous question I'd asked in the group very early on what people were struggling with at the time. And the main thing that people said was motivation. So I thought I'd do kind of a little bit of a workshop tonight on motivation, what it is, how it works, and a few ways to get ourselves motivated and stay that way. So if this is anything that you're struggling with at the moment, then kind of throw comments up. I'll answer any questions at the end if that's okay, because I kind of get into a little bit of a spiel as I'm going. And if I start reading questions, then it'll throw me off. So I'm going to go through everything that I've got kind of in my notes and what I want to go through with you. And if it's making sense, then like I say, comment, hit the like button, hit the love button, just so I can see that everyone's interacting. But like I say, I'll answer any questions at the end if that's okay. So a big thing that I hear all the time off my clients is, I know what I should be doing, I'm just not doing it. I'm not motivated enough to get to the gym. I'm not motivated enough. A big one is if I had more time, I'd probably be a bit more motivated. But obviously, you know, we've just come out of a pandemic and we had the most time on our hands that we've ever had, but we seem to get less done. And that's because of how we weren't doing anything. We were sat round, we weren't motivated to do anything. And that's how dopamine kind of works in the brain. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It's a chemical in your brain that's associated with us feeling rewarded or motivated. So it helps us strive, it helps us feel focused, and it helps us find things interesting. So it kind of helps us to feel pleasure, like when we're having sex, when we eat ice cream, anything that kind of gives us pleasure, that's what it remembers. So as it remembers this response, it in turn makes us remember to pick up a tub of ice cream again the next time we see it when we go to the shops. Okay? Or have more sex if it's possible. Because we know that we like it, we know that we get a pleasure from it. So dopamine is associated with sticking with something until it rewards us. So for example, like casinos will take advantage of this by rewarding meaningless behaviour. So if you put coins in a slot, you get a little bit of a win. You get a huge dump of dopamine, which feels good. So you want more. So you keep putting coins in the slot, chasing the rush, if that makes sense. So there has been some studies where people who are on dopamine medication for Parkinson's, called L-Dopa, I think it's called. It's like a synthetic dopamine. So it's actually shown that patients who have never had a problem with gambling before take the medication and then they actually struggle with addiction after taking the medication. So that's how strong dopamine is and the effects that it has on our body. So dopamine creates a reward that motivates a behaviour like gambling or fishing or working out. So basically here's how the dopamine cycle works. So You take action, you get a reward, so then you get motivated to take more action. So here's where people get stuck, as they think that they have to feel motivation first to take action. For example, I don't feel like going to the gym, so I'm just going to start when I feel motivated. Or I'll just watch YouTube until I feel like doing something. So that magical bolt of motivation that we're waiting for isn't likely to happen. So this is why so many people are having a hard time kind of getting motivated, because that's what they wait for. Motivation levels drop when you do less. So people are still working from home, for example, and don't leave the house, so they feel less motivated. Or because plans have been cancelled with friends and family, you don't socialise, so you feel less motivated. So the less you do, the less motivated you feel. So this is the trap that many people get stuck in, and wait to feel motivated before they start anything. And I think this can come sometimes from looking from other people who are super motivated on social media. So you see them getting up early to work out, they meal prep everything, they're reading self-help books, they're keeping busy all the time. And you might look at someone like that and assume that they feel like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and exercising, and that they must have like a magical gene that makes them feel this way. But we know that that's not how it works. And I know for sure when my alarm goes off in the morning, I don't want to get up, but I know I'll feel better for it when I do. So doing something is how you get motivated. So motivation and dopamine come after taking action. And this is just hardwired into our brain from like when we were hunter-gatherers looking for new foods to feed on. So obviously if you go out and you find like a nutritious food and you eat that, you feel good off it, you're motivated to find more. Where, you know, if you go out and find food that makes you feel sick, then you're not going to keep going for that food. So if motivation came before, then we'd be eating everything, you know, we could be eating dangerous things, we'd be putting our bodies at risk. So that's why it's kind of hardwired into our brain for such a long time. So one of the things that many people have in common is putting a lot of energy into changing how their emotions are, so how they feel. And that's normally kind of a waste of energy. So people struggle against feeling sad, or wait till they feel motivated, or do something to avoid them making feel anxious. And what happens normally? You get more sad, you get less motivated, and you get more anxious. So stop putting your energy into trying to change your emotions directly. You're more likely to change your emotions by changing how you act and changing how you think. So there's a quote by Nick Wignall that says, anyone can feel motivated from time to time, but highly motivated people build routine and habits into their lives that generate motivation consistently. This is why I go on about building healthy habits so much with my clients. So you can build a chronic cycle of demotivation or a chronic cycle of motivation, and it comes down to one small thing that you do that will determine whether you stay motivated or not. So one more example of this dopamine cycle, then I'll get on to kind of how to stay motivated. So people who are depressed, for example, have a hard time getting motivated. So they have low energy, they feel little to no pleasure in the things that they used to enjoy. So it's easy to see how that motivation reward dopamine cycle is broken. But a common style of self-talk with people that are normally depressed is someone dismissing any praise that they get, or they talk themselves down when they've done something. You know, someone will say, oh, you've done really well, and you'll say, oh, anyone could have done that, and you'll talk it down and you'll bat off and you'll turn down compliments, which I know quite a few ladies will be guilty of here. And by doing that, you're kind of crushing the sense of reward. Then the next day you feel less motivated to do it, and sometimes it's just hard to get out of bed, and the cycle continues. So the negative self-talk interrupts any reward from taking action and stops the dopamine from flowing. So changing your self-talk can help, but obviously, you know, if it is something that you're feeling depressed with, then medication will help there, but that's not for me to get into. So the way to stay motivated is all about reinforcing that motivating cycle to keep the dopamine flowing. So how we reward ourselves for tasks determines in the long run how we build or decrease motivation over time. And it all starts with building small, regular habits which starts with choosing one small thing to act on. So action leads to reward, leads to motivation, leads to more action. So sometimes we can set goals that are far too big for ourselves. It seems overwhelming, or we try to take on too much too soon. But smaller, more achievable goals, and keeping that regular until you go on to do more action makes more sense. So you don't wait until you feel motivated, but rather take some action first, then highlight the reward it has for you. So choose one small thing to start with and then try to do it. So for example, just making your bed in the morning. Yeah, take a second to kind of congratulate yourself for how good it looks, and then give yourself a moment to kind of bask in the pleasure of it. And I know it sounds easy, but when you're congratulating yourself for doing it and knowing that it feels good, you're more likely to do it again tomorrow, if that makes sense. So there's sometimes a different way that people like to do it, and if you can't get yourself motivated to do a big task that you're avoiding, you can start moving towards it in a small way. For example, if you have a task that you don't want to do, you can do 3 minutes of something that you enjoy, then 3 minutes of the task, and then kind of go back to something that you enjoy, and then go back to the task in hand. So that's how people get it done, by kind of rewarding themselves by working on something even if they don't like it. So I hope that makes sense to you. So things like going for a walk without a phone, sometimes just drinking a big glass of water and just taking time out. Anything that starts this dopamine cycle and reinforces the reward and give yourself some credit. So little things, sometimes like getting up and getting dressed as well, instead of lazing around. So I mean, yeah, we're all entitled to a day's off, but getting up, getting dressed, like in the pandemic, a lot of people kind of stayed in their pajamas all day, and that was absolutely fine. I'm not saying that you can't stay in your pajamas if you don't want to, but sometimes that little act of getting up, getting a shower, getting dressed, it makes you feel more motivated already. So it already kicks that dopamine cycle because you're looking after yourself and you're feeling a bit better, so you're more likely to go out and do something. So that is another way. You can try doing a task or exercise or anything like that for kind of 5 minutes. Reward yourself with praise, and then that'll kind of reinforce your wins. So this is how you build intrinsic motivation to keep going with action. So how you reward yourself matters. So it's okay to have a treat once in a while, but in the long run you need to be building that internal sense of pride that comes from accomplishing something that you really care about. So external rewards don't last. So things like people pleasing, looking for praise from other people, doing things for monetary value, they all kind of give temporary highs. But chasing your own goals, your own reasons, your inner beliefs and values, start by asking, what do you really care about? What do you really want to achieve? And think about this and write down your values. What do you want to be doing with your life? Track your accomplishments. You can check off items that you need to do, track your routines on paper, mark off the days that you complete the habit, and it's all about reinforcing that sense of accomplishment. I go through this quite a lot with my clients. I tell them to journal, tell them to keep a diary, tell them to write down what's gone well for the day, and it all makes a different way of looking at your mindset and trying to be positive, seeing what you have accomplished for that day, so that it's easier to get up tomorrow to try and accomplish it again. So visualising how good it's going to feel when you've done also strengthens the sense of accomplishment, and it builds the neural pathways that reinforces positive behaviour. So going back to kind of the negative self-talk a little bit. So how we talk about a task that we don't want to do has a massive impact on whether we get it done or not. So for example, exercise. I was going to use a cleaning one just to kind of keep it vague, but I am going to apply it to exercise. So, the first form of motivation is like you saying, oh God, I can't be asked to go out and do any exercise. I don't really want to go out and do it. It's cold out. It's miserable. It's going to hurt. I don't want to do it. Or you could be saying, I really don't want to exercise, but I know I'm going to feel good afterwards. I know I'm going to have that dopamine rush. I know I'm going to feel better, so probably eat better afterwards. So either way, you'll probably get the task done, but the second way of looking at it and how you're speaking to yourself, you're thinking about the good feelings and the rewards that you're going to get from exercising. So that can be applied to anything. It can be applied to cleaning the house. I hate cleaning the house, but I have to get it done whether I like it or not. So I may as well think about it in a more positive way than think, oh God, like no one likes cleaning. I appreciate that, but it can be literally applied to anything that you do. So another interesting one is stop rewarding unhelpful behaviour. So many people are unmotivated because they accidentally reward unhelpful behaviour. So like procrastinating. So trying to put things off. I am the worst person for this. I know I procrastinate, but if you do something fun whilst you're putting it off, so for example, you procrastinate, oh, I don't really want to do my meal prep, so I'm just going to sit down and watch TV for half an hour instead. Or I'm going to watch something funny on YouTube instead. You're actually rewarding yourself for procrastinating. So you're turning on your reward cycle for not taking action, if that makes sense. So if you're procrastinating about trying to get it done, turn off your phone or your TV, because boredom is uncomfortable. So that can be a really good motivator to get up and do it. So once you've done it, then you can still go and watch your show, or you can still go do whatever you want to, but use it as a reward for something that you've completed instead of putting it off. So lastly, again, I want to go over the negative self-talk. So we need to stop beating ourselves up when we fail. It doesn't work in the long run because we see it as a punishment. So if we think we're going to get punished, then over time your motivation decreases a little bit more each time. So the kind of negative self-talk that I'm thinking about is when you're going, oh, you should have done this. You should have done this. We could be better at that. You know, I've let myself down. And you're constantly punishing yourself. Your brain will take that as a punishment. Realise that that's what you're talking about, because it is more powerful than you know. So stop with the negative self-talk and it'll definitely help. But there is no magical fix that's going to make you feel motivated all the time. You can build up a consistent cycle of motivation little by little, and that's how your brain learns these dopamine pathways. So don't wait until you feel motivated. Take small steps first, then sit with the feeling of accomplishment. Don't use fear or self-punishment, and find your internal sense of fulfillment that's going to build a lasting reward cycle. So I hope that all kind of makes sense to people. I know it kind of goes a little bit in depth on how the brain works, but this is what I'm saying to clients when I'm saying, you know, we need to start building these healthy habits that you put into place every day that sets you up for success. Because in the long run, that's what we all want. We don't want to be thinking about it. We don't want to have to make it a big thing. We make it a small, healthy habit that keeps us motivated. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. If you're still with me, then comment. I'd like to see whether anyone's enjoyed that, if it makes sense, if you've got any questions. So Gail, I did my first run in 2 months on lunch today. Got more work done this afternoon and totally focused. Definitely. So again, you know, you give yourself your break away from that work, because work, no one enjoys work. Well, I enjoy my work. That's a lie. But you know, not a lot of people enjoy work. So giving yourself a breakaway for doing something for yourself has then give yourself that motivation in the afternoon to get it done. Absolutely, I love that. Well done for going for a run as well. So on my bike while listening to this live, yes! Again, you know, that's a healthy habit. You know, instead of just sitting there or you're sitting on the sofa, you've managed to get on your bike and you've done 20 minutes of cardio without even thinking about it. So again, I hope this has helped. If you're still with me this late, then I can give me a note in the comments and I can get you sent something over that's kind of how to set SMART goals and how to keep that motivation going so that we can kind of build that up. So if you want that, then put a comment in the comment section saying motivation, Jen, yes, it makes sense. I need to turn technology off and get it done. That is the biggest thing for us. Absolutely. Turning technology off. And that one where, I'm saying to you, kind of rewarding your unhelpful behaviour. It's so true. They'll sit down and think, right, well, I'll do this. And then that's what you want to do. So, perfect sense to me. Cleaned out kitchen cupboards today, feel happy. Absolutely. Anything that is like making your surroundings better, it'll definitely make you feel mentally more prepared as well. Motivation, SMART goals. Perfect. Yep, so like I say, I've got a little bit of a handout for you if you've got this far. So just write motivation in the comments. I'll send you a little handout. And thank you very much, ladies, for joining me. I hope it's been helpful. And if I don't speak to you before, I shall see you next week on the next live. So thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.